Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome to the next of our webcasts that we're bringing you here at Travel Weekly as part of our Roadmap to Recovery series from the COVID-19 pandemic that we are all still in the middle of. And I'm delighted today to be joined by three travel agents right on the front line and dealing with this day by day. So joining me today is David Walker, who is the Travel Snob. So good morning to you, David. Also Gemma Antrobus, who is the owner of Haslemere Travel and is also the chair of the ATO Specialist Travel Agents. And finally, Kate Harris, who is the owner of Inspired Travel up in Leicestershire. So welcome to you all. Thank you for joining me. I wanted to bring you together today because it's been a challenging week. I mean, I know all weeks have been challenging in the last 4 months, but we were, I felt, building a little bit of momentum and things were sort of seemed to be getting a bit better. But then obviously the news that we had on Saturday regarding Spain, which of course is our biggest destination from the UK, came a bit out of the blue, and I imagine has presented new challenges for you. So maybe start with you, Gemma. Give us a sense of what happened on, it was like 8 p.m. on Saturday night, and I think, the quarantine rules were coming into effect at midnight. So what did you have to do?
I think it was the sheer shock of what we were seeing happen that really kind of got me. And, we thankfully didn't have anyone affected. So there was nobody that we needed to kind of repatriate or contact immediately. And we also didn't have any imminent bookings to Spain that would be affected. But what it started to do was have all of our other clients then question what was going to happen with their bookings. And it was the immediacy that it came in, and it was the out of the blue surprise. And I think we all believed that when these lists were going to be published, that they would at least stay in place for some period of time. And I think we've been working on a 3-weekly rolling basis. We'd had the new list revised on the Friday. So I don't think anyone imagined that on Saturday there would be such a quick turnaround. And it literally felt like the rug had been pulled from under our feet. It was, as every other agent and tour operator that sells Spain and anywhere else actually that it is in Europe is probably feeling right now. It's now, we've gone from, complete lockdown when we're all chasing our tails with our refunds and moving of dates, to suddenly starting to see light at the end of the tunnel, starting to open our shops, thinking about bringing staff back from furlough. And then clients building confidence and contacting you about where they want to go. And all of a sudden now, all they're talking about is, where can I go? And that's the really difficult conversation, is we don't know. And I don't even think the government know. I don't even think they have a clue either. And why this decision was made so quickly and with such immediate effect, I would hazard to guess it's possibly not to do with COVID and probably has something more behind it. But we can't now say that it won't happen to anyone else on the list.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, we'll come on to the way they made that decision and the way they communicated it in a second. But let's just get a sense from the other two on what the immediate sort of impact for you guys on Saturday. David, what happened with you? I know you've had a few cancellations, haven't you?
Yeah, so I was actually at a garden party and I'd been there since 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so I wasn't feeling at my most alert. And so it was a real shock. So the one good thing is the fact that I do know in here who's traveling and who's away. So instantly I'm just sending a WhatsApp message. I had 2 people in resort to say, have you seen the news? You've got to quarantine when you get back. And I was getting the link from the government site to say, this is what the quarantine rules are. Just trying to give them as much information as I could, just saying, look, it has literally just happened.
And those 2 people, David, were they happy to carry on with their holiday, or did they need to get back for work? Or
I did ask them that. I said, look, are you going to be okay with this? Because at the late stage, it's happening at midnight tonight. I'm not sure I can get you on a plane to arrive before then. Both of them were fabulous. One of them's like, it's okay, it's not your fault. It's, and then they went off to blame whose fault it was, which was really good. And the other one was, I can see him in my head showing off around a table, just got a note from my travel agent, has anybody else? And all this kind of stuff, telling everybody. So that was a good story, because it's like, oh my God, we need to use a travel agent. So that part was, and they're both fine. One of them got back yesterday, and I actually, to be fair, he likes a beer. So I just sent him 6 beers to say happy quarantine. I hope this will get you through it. you know, but that's what I do. And, you know, he's happy enough. He goes to my network meeting. I'm part of BNI. And so that will, you know, that's the story that will get out there as well.
Yeah. And so the cancellations you've had, David, are they people who were due to travel to Spain in the next, you know, few weeks then?
Yeah, I was one of them going on Saturday, which was our third destination that we'd had for that week. We've now changed that now and we're going to Turkey. So I'd had that one in Egypt. I've got a couple more that I've just said sit and wait, because if we, you know, with the policies, you know, if we're cancelling it, then there's amendments that we've got to do. They're quite happy to go if quarantine's over, and these are to the islands. And so we're just going to sit and wait and watch it and then decide what to do. They've said if they can't go, they're just not going to go. So
they don't want to book somewhere else.
No. If it gets cancelled, it gets cancelled. They'll get a refund, and they're not bothered about a rebook.
And I suppose to Gemma's point, they brought it in really quickly, so I guess they could lift it again. Although we're not hearing too many good signs about that, but we'll come on to that. Let's find out what Kate's experience was.
So I heard the news Saturday, a bit like David, tend to have a recce in my mind of who's going, what's happening. I knew we'd got somebody going to Ibiza. They were due to go on the 7th, so they've now had their holiday cancelled. Her words to me were, I feel safer going to Ibiza than I do to the local Aldi and Tesco store.
Yeah.
I have today rebooked her Ibiza for the 12th of September, and she's booked to go to Crete on the 7th of August, which was the 7th of August, which is the original date she was going away. And she said to me this morning that one of her friends has said, oh, I can't believe that you're risking it. And I know I'm biased because of the industry I work in, but I don't see risking it. First of all, financially, they're booking a package, they're guaranteed to get all of their money back. If we're talking about health, I honestly think if I can go to the pub, which I will be doing this evening, and I can sit in a pub with other locals who, bear in mind, I live in Leicestershire, so we're about 5-6 miles from the lockdown. We have no idea who's coming in because not all of the pubs in the village are asking people for ID. I don't understand where the, you know, are you not worried, are you not scared, is coming from. If people actually looked at the amount of deaths in the Balearics and in the Canaries, they are so low compared to us. Their R rating is so much lower, even in mainland Spain, than it is in the UK. I'm sure there are lots of things that the government has done that have been great, but at the moment I'm struggling to think of any. We listen to this, we're going to go at it with a targeted approach. This hasn't been targeted, this is knee-jerk. They're panicking. I don't know anyone that would want their job, I understand that, but surely to God, just sit and make informed decisions, not rush into stuff like this.
So, I mean, that's two of you know. So, Kate, you're saying you don't think it's based on scientific evidence, and Gemma, you suggested there, or you hinted that you weren't sure the decisions were being made really to do with COVID, and there might be something else at play. So, you know, how frustrating is that for you? You've been 4 months into this, losing money left, right, and centre. You know, really needing a helping hand, actually needing something to go our way, and then we've got these decisions which seem questionable, don't they? They seem, you know, that perhaps they're just a little bit unfounded in many areas, and also the lack of communications. It's just really not helpful, is it?
I think it's the most frustrating thing about it is it's the doubt that it causes in everyone's minds about every type of travel now. Yeah. Because I think we at least thought we were going to build on this list. I think many of us thought that we were going to go back from it unless something really drastic happened. And I think what's happened in Spain, in the Catalonia area, is similar to what's happened in Leicestershire. And, you know, Germany, for example, with their outbound travel, have taken a targeted approach that said you can travel to Spain, but you can't travel to these areas. And that would have made so much more sense, because you understand that and you can go, okay, well, that's fine. I get that. That's a higher risk to, you know, the British public, and we understand that makes sense. none of us want our clients or anybody to travel to anywhere they're going to get sick. And if clients don't want to travel because they're fearful, then they shouldn't. You know, I know that there's a lot of finger pointing at the travel industry and how because we're so shocked and up in arms about this, outsiders seem to believe that it's all about, you know, the bottom line and we all want to make a quick buck. And to be honest, it's not. You know, if the government's going to continue with this, I'm fine with that. But what they need to do on the flip side of that is provide better support for our industry, because they will have no industry otherwise. And then what will happen when the atoll holders fail? The government will have to pick up the bill. And nobody seems to join the dots on all of these situations. And, you know, at the end of the day, the people that are going to be affected are the taxpayers, because that's where it comes from.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, of course, you know, public health is paramount. None of you, as you say, would want to send you know, any of your clients away if they weren't safe. So we absolutely understand that. I mean, I've read some tweets from agents on social media saying, do you know what, I'm just too nervous now to book anybody anywhere. I mean, some people are literally just turning bookings away. So they've got customers coming in saying, I'd like to still go away for August or early September, and they're now nervous too, because like you say, where you know, where can you book people now? I mean, there are still places obviously on this safe list, but I guess the fact is that the government could change that at any time. So do you feel confident to keep booking, and where are you, you know, moving people to? You said, David, you're going yourself to Turkey, so where are you sort of suggesting instead?
I've got my view on it is, if someone, and right now I've got an office normally and I'm still at home for various reasons, but if people ring me up saying, am I okay to go away? My instant answer is no. If you're asking me if it's okay for you to go away, then no, it's not. If you were to ring me and say, I want to go away on Wednesday and I want to go to Turkey, am I good to go? What's the restrictions? Then absolutely, I'll send them. But if they want my assurance, I can't give them my assurance because it's unknown. So if they're confident enough to say, I want to go, then absolutely I can send them. But if they want me to say it's okay for them, then it's not okay.
Okay, that's interesting. That's very interesting perspective. What about you, Gemma and Kate? How are you treating it?
I'm off to Greece myself on Friday. I've done that on purpose. I intend to do live Facebook updates. I just feel that people need to see that it is okay to travel. I have started to use my Facebook as an information centre on what the government are advising about passports, about where's safe to go. I've done a piece about insurance. And I have made sure that every single person before we've booked, I have booked, I've said to them, make sure that you have insurance in place and you're happy with whatever COVID cover is or isn't in place. And whether I'm naive, I just think that if you're booking with somebody like Jet2 Holidays, who actually have been very, very good on the whole cancelling, refunding, they've been quick with their refunds. Like David, if a client's instructing me they want to go on holiday, I'm happy to do it. And if other people are refusing, then perhaps they'd like to pass my phone number on, because I've got a mortgage that needs paying.
Okay, so you're like David in respect that, you know, if people are, you know, people want to book, you'll absolutely book them. If they're asking for your advice, it sounds like you're just going a little bit further than David, that you're actually saying, yeah, I'm going myself. You know, this, as long as you take precautions, as long as you've got insurance, as long as you book with the right operator, then you're happy to book them if they're asking for your advice.
Absolutely.
Okay, and what about you, Gemma?
Like Kate, like both of you, I booked a long weekend to Seville, only Thursday last week.
Oh.
So, and I wanted to do for travel next weekend, and I wanted to do exactly the same thing. I wanted to document the airport experience. Most of our clients fly with BA, so I booked BA seats so they could see firsthand what the experience was going to be, and then staying in a beautiful hotel on the outskirts of Seville where you could quite easily isolate yourself and have a wonderful trip. And of course that's not happening now, but my morning has been spent talking to clients that have, I wouldn't say our most regular clients, but clients that have booked with us in the past, who've had holidays to Spain obviously cancelled, that not through us but obviously direct bookings, who are now that much more nervous about doing stuff themselves because they didn't have the support in sorting that out, but they still desperately want to get away. And the question is, well, where can I go that's not going to be taken off this list? We can't answer that. Yeah. I'm trying to do, to me, everyone talks about the south of France because they can, realistically drive down there, but it's horrifically expensive. The availability is like, it's like trying to find unicorn tears, and what's left is not great. So that's a really difficult one, but that's kind of top of a lot of our clients' lists because they can stay in their own cars and they can make their own way there and they feel relatively protected. But to me, Greece seems to be a really perfect option, as would Portugal if it was on the list, which it isn't.
We were expecting that, weren't we? I think people thought it might come on that Friday review that you talked about, Gemma, and then that was left off yet again. And as you go back to Kate's point, when you look at the actual infection rates, I think they're doing them now per 100,000 people in the country, and actually it doesn't really stack up against places that they've taken off. So,
and why have they left the Portuguese islands of Madeira and Azores, yet they haven't put Portugal on? Yet Spain has the issues, but they have included the Balearics and the Canaries. That makes no sense. I've spent today and a good part of yesterday, I'd got people who know that if the quarantine isn't lifted, they cannot have extra time off work. They had a villa holiday booked for Lanzarote. I've now had to move that to March next year. I wonder if the government realised that these few people that we've booked, or all of these holidays that we're moving, that actually we've continued to work for not only no money, but for money that we're not going to see for another 12 months. I think that they think, like most industries, that when you do a booking, you get the money immediately. We're not. We're working hard.
They're not interested. The government are not interested in anything to this.
Sorry, Gemma, you were saying the government's just not interested in our industry?
I don't believe they understand our industry. I don't believe they're interested in understanding our industry. All of the consortia, I know from ATO specifically, have had a seat at the table with all, a lot of these conversations that have happened since March, and have taken factual data to them, have fought our corner so hard to try and, at least have some kind of understanding of what the decisions that they make, how they impact our industry as a whole, whether you're an independent agent or you're not, or you're an airline, and they just are not listening. And it's not that, these are not unintelligent people. These are people that just don't want to listen. It doesn't affect them. It doesn't affect any of their businesses or where any of their money is, businesses where they've got money. So therefore they're making decisions based on, to me, I still think we're being used as a Brexit negotiation pawn, but that's an entirely different, probably Zoom conversation. But, why would something...
One that I'd quite like to have though, Gemma, we'll get you back on. But
why, and I probably like you, Lucy, I talked to lots of different media, and I was talking to Sky on Sunday, and they said always the press get a heads up about what's about to break. Nobody had a heads up about what broke on Saturday night at all. Nobody, not Sky, not the BBC. And it just makes you think, what conversation happened on Saturday afternoon or late Saturday evening where someone went, right, we're going to show you, if you don't give us what you want, we're going to affect your economy by pulling the plug on all of our British travellers travelling to you for the most valuable time in your economy for tourism. And that's it. It smacks of that.
The press don't help either though, do they? Yesterday I saw a post that was circulating of 4 or 5 newspaper headlines yesterday that were all saying holidays for 2020 doomed, we'll all be staying at home, is this the end of the travel industry for this year? We know our press are a nightmare, but for God's sake, we're not up against it enough without them jumping on the bandwagon.
Yeah, so with that in mind, have you also had cancellations for other destinations, and how far out are people worrying about? Is it just for this summer, or are you getting real nerves for going into winter and everything? David, you're not. What are you getting?
Yeah, so I've had a nice steady flow of cancellations, I think we describe it. But as of Monday, I had 5 cancelled that were going to the US in December. Now I kind of get that as well, and we've sorted out, we're moving dates, but normally I'm ringing people a couple of months before to say, look, we're on it, don't worry. But for them to be ringing me was a lot earlier than to cancel and rebook.
December, yeah. But you feel that they've just gone, anything could happen. It's not worth the risk.
Yeah.
Our American business, nobody wants to go. I had an email earlier about October half term to Orlando. They think they can change, but we'd bought the flights in full. I've said, you're going to have to just sit there and wait. American Airlines are only up to the 30th of September.
Right.
I'd got a nice West Coast, huge trip for somebody's surprise 60th. I'm still waiting for some of the hotels that were instant purchase to decide whether they will allow the people to move to next May or not. And you find yourself drip feeding your client to try and control their anger and their frustration that they're clearly going to aim at you if they knew what was sitting on your desk and in their file. We've turned into counsellors, haven't we?
Yeah, I've got a lot of South Africa. I've got 4 big South Africa bookings in October and November. And of course, because the flights are still operating or the flights haven't been cancelled, there's little we can do. And then we're going back to this 11-month thing because they would like to go the same time next year. So we can't book the flights. So we don't know how effective it's going to be. And so you can't, and the clients don't understand why we can't just tell them, yeah, we can move it for next year.
Particularly if they're people's honeymoons.
Yeah.
We had an instance where their weddings were cancelled in this country, but we were still waiting for the flights to be cancelled for their honeymoon. So for a period of 2 months, we'd got people who couldn't get married but were having their honeymoon. Now they've been allowed to cancel, but we can't rebook. And all anyone wants to do when it's your honeymoon is have it booked and sorted to look forward to. They're already still dealing with the devastation of a cancelled wedding.
Yeah, it's tough.
I had some very frustrating conversations on Monday. On Friday, I'd spoken to a number of clients who are about to pay balances for September holidays. So where we put balances off, and the suppliers have been very kind and said, look, we'll look at about 4 to 6 weeks out. Friday, yep, all fine going ahead. Spoke to the clients, yep, definitely we want to go ahead. We're really looking forward to it. Monday morning, yeah, I think we'll wait. I think we'll move this now because of everything that's happened with Spain. You never know. Italy might be next on the list. France might be next on the list. Croatia might be next on the list. So now that money that we thought was going to come in the next 4 to 6 weeks is not.
Yeah,
really tough.
That's really tough. So you're going to get the bookings eventually, but we've got to get there.
Yeah. Well, look, that you make a good point there. Sorry, David. Did you want to say something? Please?
The 4 bookings that we're making where they're changing dates, we're still losing money because they would have paid for another holiday then anyway. So they're doing they're doing their summer holiday, moving it to Easter. They would have gone away at Easter. So we've got to wait for it. So we have lost out.
Most of us will lose 12 months worth of business for this. We will have a year with no income.
Yeah. And with that in mind, I wanted to ask you before we move on from sort of the government and how these decisions are impacting you. You know, what do you need to see? I mean, you know, hopefully people can get through 12 months without any income, but I mean, not everybody will be. I mean, it's a tall order. So what do you need to see? Is it sort of an extension of the furlough scheme for travel? Is it more grants, more support?
I think we need all of those. We're certainly on a lower level or on a personal level, the whole loan and mortgage holiday needs to be extended. I don't know whether it's fortunately or unfortunately, I used all my savings and bought my shop in February. I've saved for years, rented for years. Only I could sign for it 3 weeks before this happened. So that's an issue. I'm paid as a director, dividends and small PAYE, so I've had no money. I have tried to move around the universal credit. I've given up. I've not been able to furlough. I've been to my local government. They haven't got a bloody clue either. Somebody needs to look at the income for directors in the travel industry. I think people mention the word director and they see fat cats, they see huge big cars, wonderful big houses, and that's nothing could be further from the truth. And it's soul destroying for small business owners and their staff when your staff are furloughed and are earning more money than you, but they're at home and I'm coming in taking all of the flack on a day-to-day basis. It just doesn't just affect me. My staff Gaynor, when she's coming, has sat here and sobbed because she feels so guilty that she can't come in and help, and that she's got income and I don't have a bloody brass farthing. That's not her fault. That's something that the government have created and allowed to happen. We need to go back and look at the grants again, because 10,000 for those of us with retail premises was great, but it doesn't pay mortgages and electric bills and phone bills, for God's sake. It doesn't pay those forever. So we need that to be looked at again. They just need to understand that we're grafters. You know, we have worked through all of this and we now need a bit of help. I could get quite emotional about it, to be honest.
I think you've articulated that brilliantly, Kate, and thank you for being so honest about your situation. What, David, you look like you're wanting to say something.
One of my big gripes, and I completely agree with Kate, is credit card charges. So, you know, we've not only have we given the customer their entirety of what they've paid us, including, you know, our part, we've given it all back. You know, those that have paid, one example, £35,000 on Amex, that cost me a lot of money. I get the bill for that. You know, it doesn't go anywhere. So it's costing us to cancel someone's holiday, regardless of the time and the effort and the emails that are coming onto a supplier. It's the amount that we paid up front for those credit card charges, and we give it all back. And yet you can, you know, somebody could take, you know, they could do the cash back on the credit card because they haven't got the refunds. Hang on a second, why can't we charge the credit cards for what we've been charged? Because we haven't had that service anymore.
So you need some help in that area as well. And Gemma, anything from you in terms of what you would like to see?
No, I think everything. We need
want it all. Well, I think you deserve it all, so yeah.
We just need like a robust package from the government that comes and says, we recognise that the travel industry is heavily affected by our decisions. We don't know how it's going to play out over the next 6, 9, 12 months. We may have to make these decisions very short notice and with immediate effect, which we would all understand. But because we're going to do this, we will then offer you this support. Right. We will either offer you this with your rates, with your, you know, rental support, or more grants, or something to do with furlough, support for directors, credit card charges. It needs to encompass everything, because whilst we all kind of do the same thing, we're all probably impacted slightly differently depending on how we're set up.
How you're set up, yeah.
Whether you have a large expensive office or you have one member of staff or you have 20, it all affects, I mean, it's all money at the end of the day, but we're all affected slightly differently. So there just needs to be this package.
They need a range of options that you can pull from, which would help your
easy to access. And, you know, those of us that haven't stopped working since mid-March, we're exhausted. I mean, I can't tell you, it's exhausting.
So Gemma, a 3 weeks holiday would be good. And I have to say, if I'm going to be asked to do any more Zoom, I need fillers.
Oh my God. Tell me about it. I'm on this every day. Look at this, it's far too bright. But not that point, because Kate, you did mention Jet2 had been good. You know, I don't need you to call out people necessarily, but have you changed who you're working with in terms of now when you're thinking about making new bookings? Have you
without a doubt
given some people more business?
Yeah, and funnily enough, I was looking after Southern Cross's business for 3 months because Penny had passed away, and their clientele and their bookings were very different to mine. And there was some of their choice of tour operators, because we all have tour operators that we are our go-to, that we're comfortable with, that we have contacts with. Dealing with some of their clients, some of their operators, yeah, there will be a couple that I will not be looking to use at all. I don't think that some of them get the whole travel agent's job. I also don't think that some of them really understand, as a tour operator, some of the staff that were brought in to deal with the bookings, I don't think they really understood. They were still adamant that people had to pay their balances 12 weeks before, when you knew damn well that their holiday wasn't going to go ahead. And when they're saying, well, we've got to pay our suppliers, whoa, everyone knows as a tour operator you're not paying at 12 weeks. So absolutely, and I saw the other guys nodding their heads, there will be people that I won't touch with a barge pole. There's one particular cruise company, their hold times have been nothing short of bloody disgusting. And if I had the time to send P&O a bill for the time I've spent on hold and got nowhere, they'd have a bill. And for the emails that I've sent them direct to people that they have just opened and ignored, it's rude. You know, at the basis of it all, it is rude, let alone poor customer service. So, rant over.
I was going to say,
Get off the fence, Kate.
Yeah.
Say what you mean.
I don't agree with anything that Kate said. We all learn valuable lessons out of this, and I would have no hesitation in talking to clients. If rarely do clients actually come in and ask us to book a certain tour operator's holiday. Usually they want to come in and talk to us, and we'll leave it to our judgment. But you occasionally get people who say, "Will you book me an X holiday?" I've been with you before. And if it's someone who we feel, let's just say they're on our blacklist, let's put it as bluntly as it is, I think using this experience as to explain to them why, unfortunately, if you're happy to do that yourself, that's fine, but we wouldn't book that for you because of these reasons. Beforehand, we probably sugarcoated it a little bit and probably tried to sell them to somebody else and do it in a subtle way. But now I would have no hesitation in saying why I wouldn't use a company. And, from my experience, obviously being ATO Specialist Agents Chair, we book ATO first and foremost anyway. So very rarely do we go outside the family. And without exception, all of our ATO suppliers have been phenomenal. And it has helped so much because a lot of the people you're talking to are the MDs, the owners. They get it, they understand it. You have those relationships with them. They know what you're up against. They're up against it as well. And you have these late night conversations, and you get into hysterics because there's nothing else that can be done other than try and console each other and what time's gin o'clock and that kind of thing. But I have found that where you have larger suppliers that have more of a call center environment, or obviously not a call center because everyone's working from home, that they haven't empowered their staff with the knowledge, which comes back to what Kate said. And those people therefore can't provide you with a helpful alternative or an answer. And, being told, well, send me an email and we'll get back to you in 2 weeks' time isn't sufficient. And, we understand that not everyone can bring back their full teams from furlough. We get that. That is also frustrating right now when you're starting to get new bookings. But, if we explain that to clients, that's fine. But in the beginning, when you've got that lack of empathy and understanding of, I've just had a client scream at me down the phone because you're not giving me enough information for me to provide them to make them feel happy that the amount of money that they've spent is either safe or is going to come back to them. It's just not right. And I think there's a lot of companies out there that will learn a big lesson from this.
Okay. All right. Well, look, I don't want to end on a low note. I want to end on a high note. And I don't know if you've just seen, but Eamon Holmes, of all people, has
just put it on our Facebook. Yes.
Well, he's just said, that this really strengthens, this whole situation strengthens the hand of the travel agent. They were a thing of the past. Now they are the future. And I wonder.
Who would all fall in love with Eamon Holmes?
Well, I know. I'm going to get him on here now. Love Eamon. We love Eamon. So maybe I'll get him on, or we'll have him speak at a conference or something. He's just going to become, a new travel industry sort of idol. But it's a great.
Simon bloody Calder.
Well, he was on there as well, and then he was forced to agree with Eamon, but I bet he had to do that through gritted teeth. But listen, what do you think to that? I mean, do you think there is some truth in that? I mean, you were saying already, David, that your guy was in resort saying my agents, phoned me. So I think perhaps this message is getting through, hopefully, that in a time of crisis that we're in now, that having someone to talk to and to support you all the way through these difficult situations is just absolutely priceless.
I'm a bit of a Facebook stalker on some of these holidays with kids' Facebook pages. I never put anything. I just do it. And I joined recently to see the reaction of the public and what they're going through. And it's really interesting, the amount of people that have booked their flight here, their hotel here, another flight back with them. And they're all kicking off. And, you can I do think that people will actually sit back and think, actually, I am going to go to an agent. you know, from what you guys were saying earlier about the suppliers that we use for the future, I'm finding that, you know, if I am quoting for the future, I'm telling the customer, I'm booking with these guys because if anything should happen, this is what we do. We can move it. We can, you know, we won't bring our balance for eight, you know, which is something new that you've never really gone into before, discussed about it's cancelled, but you're doing that. And I'm saying, you know, or they're coming, somebody came to me with a quote the other day, can I match that? I went, no, I'm not going to even attempt to match it. I'm going to be more expensive. This is why, because I want to do it with all one person, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't a massive booking, but they booked with me based upon the security and the not knowing. So I do think people are going to look at that. I've done a lot of social media, just visibility, just, you know, I'll come to you in the future. You know, that's what people are now saying. So I do think there's a lot of, if we can get through this period and how long that period is going to be, I think those that get through will thrive. And that, when I look at the amount of future bookings I have, and it's never been so healthy and so advanced, I just want the money for it now, but that keeps me going, and that just makes me know that all will be okay. And then when, you know, we'll wake up one morning and it's all gone, then we'll all be great. You know, there'll be no more COVID, there'll be nothing. That's how it's going to happen. Something else is going to hit the media, and then I think we'll all thrive.
Okay, well, that is a... Go on, Kate.
On the back of Gemma saying that she had a blacklist for tour operators, we have a blacklist for customers. There are 2 of them on our blacklist. We will never book them again. So we have gone back to our clients to say, look, you paid on credit card. This is how much it cost us. We're not in a position to make a loss. And one client who's only ever booked with us twice, both times it's been cancelled, kicked off over me not refunding a £35 credit card fee. So I've said to him, no bother at all, I'm going to double that. The next time you book with us, because I know that he never will, we would give it you back, but he is on our blacklist. And I think that as well as tour operators that we don't want to use, there will be clients that we won't want to have in our shops because of the way they've, sorry Gemma, the way they've kicked off, the way they haven't been so understanding about the time it's taken us to get refunds.
Yeah, you've really been right on the firing line, I'm sure, for lots of anger and frustration. Gemma, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, you know, in sort of summing up all of this, it's I hope that in not too long a time we'll have more conversations like this when we look back on this period of time and the lessons that we've learned, clients and suppliers, and we will all be in positions where we're thriving, because I am super positive about the future. The one thing that's so amazing about travel is how much it enriches, you know, our clients, their children, even our older generation. Travel brings so much joy to people. And I was at a party last night, and everyone was, you know, very empathetic for what we're going through in this industry, but all are desperate to get away. And I think that appetite is very much there. And I think that once we just have a little bit more stability on where people can go, and that it's going to last a bit longer than, you know, the rug being pulled at the last minute, I do think that the clients will come back. I think those that have DIY'd it will start to look at agents as well. I think the message that has come out from the travel industry through this pandemic has been so strong. We've got, you know, more coverage in, you know, certainly obviously our trade press is amazing, but certainly more in the nationals and the major TV channels than we've ever had before. And I know it's because it's not so great, but even that is really positive when they're asking the likes of, you know, just regular travel agents like, you know, you and I to make comments. It's so positive to get our faces out there, showing that, you know, a proper travel agent, someone you can call, who will answer the phone, who will help you, who cares, is a really positive thing to have, you know, in your sort of your family unit, you know, someone you can call when things aren't quite right, even if it's just for advice. And none of us would ever deny giving a client advice about anything. So I am super optimistic for the future and super positive about it. We just have a little bit more to navigate before we kind of get there. But, you know, I think that we will, and those of us that get through it will be ever stronger.
Well, I don't even need to sum up, Gemma. You've done my job for me. That's fantastic, and I wish you all the very best. I mean, you know, thank you for coming on and sharing your experiences with us today. And I do hope you all get through. You're positive, you're driven, you're determined. Enjoy your holidays as well for those of you who are going. And Gemma, why are you at parties on a Tuesday night? I mean, what kind of social life have you got?
He's the travel agent.
Why shouldn't you be at a party on a Tuesday night?
I'm just jealous. I'm just jealous. I'm just stuck in my son's bedroom for weeks on end. All right. Look, thank you very much to David, the travel snob, to Gemma from Haslemere Travel, and to Kate from Inspired Travel. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Lucy. Thanks.